online digital space, because you started out as a footballer when you were young, didn't you?
I did for my sins, the mighty Tottenham Hotspur, if anyone recognises that, the Premier League team. I didn't actually make it through to the first team, but played from 14 up to 18, which led me over to the States. So I was playing and coaching in America and actually travelled 37 states, which started my kind of love and passion for food. You know how much they love their food over there. Which led me to come to Dubai to start a football academy in 2009. Eating and drinking has always been a huge part of my life, so when we stopped playing football, we were able to eat and drink whatever we like. Dubai is an amazing food culture. I'll say it's the capital of food in the UAE, which led me to start doing brunches, which led me to meet my beautiful fiancée, Lucy. And we started going out lots and lots and lots. So our main, I guess, passion was eating and drinking, and we know how expensive that can be. And we just started documenting it on a website and a blog, which started garnering a lot of attention from hoteliers in the industry. So that's how Mr and Mrs Brunch was born. The name was actually coined because we became quite popular in the industry and amongst friends. We started being called Mr and Mrs Time Out. So yeah, I guess the time out was already taken. So Mr and Mrs Brunch had to do in second place.
Well, brunch and Dubai go hand in hand. I think Dubai has absolutely, more than anywhere else in the world. I know we think of America initially with a brunch, but actually what Dubai has done with that brand, the brand brunch really, is phenomenal. I think I remember going to the first brunch so many years ago in Dubai at the Fairmont,
yeah.
And it was absolutely beautiful. It was a really special thing to do, to go to that. Fast forward to where we are today, and I think almost every outlet has a brunch offering of some kind.
Yeah, I mean, the hotel industry and the food and beverage industry uses brunch and Dubai Institution as a brunch as a way to really pinpoint and get into the market and access. So every hotel might be a 5-star hotel. You may not be able to actually go out and afford to eat there à la carte, but a brunch is a really good way of introducing your concepts to the market. So brunches are a great way to garner a new audience.
But there's a lot in there, isn't there? Because I think we see themes now, and there's discounts, and there's, how do you stand out from all of the brunches on a Friday and now a Saturday, of course?
Well, a good thing about that is that you can actually brunch every single day of the week if you would like to. So our record is 6 brunches in a week. I think we actually did 2 on a Friday, 1 on a Saturday, and then 1 every other day of the week, with a little break on a Tuesday.
You did that?
Yes, yeah, Lucy and I did that.
It's a marathon of brunches.
Exactly. We'll try and get to 7. Once brunches do resume, we'll try and get to 7 in a week. There's so much choice, there's so much variety. There's English brunches, there's Italian brunches, you can do American, you can do any style of brunch that you would like, from buffet brunches to a la carte. There's whatever there is, and consumers aren't silly. They know what good value is. So the reason why I guess we were able to tell such a ingratiating story is that we just tell the truth. We're not chefs, we're not distributors, we simply mirror and represent the market in which we live in. So we tell a really honest, objective story, and that's why I guess people were so interested in Mr and Mrs Brunch, and consequently Let's DXB after that.
So let's just focus in on that a little bit, because I think this is absolutely key. We see many people, many brands, many bloggers, influencers, media outlets that are reviewing, talking about food. They're there in social media, tweeting, connecting, Insta stories. There's a lot now for the consumer. Back in the day, you did used to pick up your copy of What's On, Time Out. Now you've got all of this in your phone at your fingertips. So what you're talking about here, I think, which is really key, is that the integrity and the honesty is actually what has driven you forward to be the leader. And it sounds that shouldn't necessarily be a surprise, but I think there was a feeling that if I just put something up on the internet, I'm going to get traffic and it's going to be successful. There's actually an enormous amount of work goes into being there, getting all that traffic and being a leader.
Absolutely. I mean, people say that I've got the best job in the world. I get to go around and eat and drink, and I say get paid for it. There is a real, we have a responsibility first and foremost. We realise that by putting out something which is negative, it can severely damage a hotel, a restaurant, an individual chef's reputation in the market. But we do 100% stay objective. There's no way that Lucy and I can be paid to come and review and say nice things, because that's just advertising. And as I said before, consumers they're too clever for that. Everyone can be a critic and a reviewer, and everyone's opinion is definitely worthy. Where we have been able to, I guess, capitalise, commercialise on it, is that we still have our opinions on Mr and Mrs Brunch. The app Let's DXB is a separate arm of that, where hotels can advertise, they can showcase their new offerings, their restaurants, their discounts, their added value to the consumer in something that is a completely objective, free to use and free to download application. So yeah, that's how we do it.
And I think, always the traditional way of doing business, as particularly in the culture of this region, is people, interfacing with people.
Yeah.
From the days of sitting in the Majlis, it still continues today, to the coffee, to the breakfast meeting, to wanting to meet in person, as we are doing here at Gulfood. What the internet takes away is, in some ways, that sense, but it's now, I think people are getting used to interface and interacting with a screen, that connections are being made. But how much do you think people are just buying into you and Lucy as personalities, as people?
Well, I hope so. I hope I'm not too boring. I mean, if you see my face here, Lucy's the one that's often in front of the camera. I'm often I wouldn't say that she's the beauty and I'm the brains, but she'll probably kill me for that. But she is obviously a stunning looking girl if you see her. People like to look at that, and we do create nice creative content. And, we've had to up our game in terms of videography. And you mentioned before, people were writing War and Peace long reviews. Nobody has time to read those anymore. We're the digital age, and everyone's attention spans are 10, 15 seconds and looking at Insta stories. So we've had to evolve with the millennials and our generation, creating things that we've called, for example, Brunch in a Minute. Is a new concept where you would go to, for example, your lumber brunch, and you want to know what's good in terms of the food, the entertainment, the drinks and the service, and we round that up into a minute bite-sized Insta story, which is great for consumers, and people seem to really think that works for them.
It only seems about 5 minutes ago that it was all about the blog, but now it's not, is it? I mean, like you just said, people need something quick, instant, and get what they need. So how have you, behind the scenes and within your organisation, coped with that? I mean, is it just you and Lucy? Who's in your team?
With great difficulty. Again, this isn't our full-time job. It's our hobby. It's our passion. But obviously, there's myself. There's Lucy. We also have two members of staff. They might be roaming around today, collecting business cards. Peter and James, who are the behind the scenes, and they're the ones that deal with hotels and restaurants and everything like that. So it's a huge team effort. To put everything together and keep on top of things. Let's say restaurants open, restaurants unfortunately close, brunch offers change. Only 2 weeks ago we had the information from DTCM that brunches had to stop because of the current situation. So all of our offers had to change and adapt and evolve to do those times, and we simply couldn't do it by ourselves.
Yeah, and when you're looking at media, from a passion, writing, then it becomes about understanding the technology of the internet and social media, navigating that, and now it's about also being on camera. Did you ever anticipate that when you started, that you'd then be filming yourself and being filmed, because that's what's getting you plugged straight into your audience?
Absolutely not. I mean, I think up until a year and a half ago, nobody knew who Mr and Mrs Brunch were. We were completely anonymous, completely behind the scenes, and at the forefront of our business and our Instagram was just the pictures of the food. The food sells itself, and there's nothing that tells a story like a good plate of food. Whether it be a steak or a bowl of chips, it can be absolutely amazing how you picture it. But people like to get to know who's behind the business. They relate to us. They relate to us as a couple, I guess. It's a true life love story. We met at a brunch. We've grown up here, but we came here separately. We've met together. We've not got a child, but we've got a business together. That's our baby. So people relate to people, but nothing's fake or forced. It's just us.
But I think also when you talk about photography, I mean, we are just saturated with photographs of food. There's a lot of bad photographs of food out there.
Yeah.
And I think, do you feel, I'd like to get your insight about the idea that this online media is sometimes dumbing down an industry and the quality of a product?
I'm not too sure. I have ridiculously high standards. I've got OCD myself, and I've had to teach myself how to take different camera angles and lighting and things like that. You see us actually turn up to a brunch. I'll turn up with a huge bag with my DSLR camera and my iPhone and different lighting tricks and things like that. And there's different apps to do it. So there's nothing, again, that tells a good story, like a good plate of honest food. Consumers are too smart to know what's filtered and what's not. So let's let the food tell its own story. And sometimes the chefs behind as well. We've looked around on the Chef Talk stage. There's some absolutely unbelievable talent in this region, and it's all about letting the consumers and the customers in our community know who those people are.
And tell us a bit more about those smart consumers, because I think that's really key as well. The connection with the consumer is all the more important today than it ever has been before.
Absolutely, because people just have more choice than there is before. Even looking around here today, you could go out and just eat Indian food for the entire year and not eat at the same restaurant twice. People know what good value is, so whether that's a nice smile behind a mask, is a nice welcome from the maitre d' or the chef coming out to check on how your service is. People are really, really clever, and the moment when we start to take people's food intelligence for granted is the moment that we start to slip.
What's a big no-no for you at a brunch? What do you...
A big no-no? I was going to mention something else I'm not allowed to mention in this part of the world here. I guess it's tough to say. One of my favourite brunches is actually a buffet restaurant, but as I've got older and I guess my tastes have become a bit more refined, the a la carte dining experience is so much more refined. Wastage for me. Can't stand to see food wastage. That's probably my biggest no-no of a brunch, and food being sat there. Nobody wants to eat chips at 4 p.m. that have been out there since 12 p.m. So for me, that's it.
I think that's also one of the areas that has really evolved and changed, hasn't it, through a lot of the outlets over the years, through much that awareness of too much to see when you walk into the space. It used to be a showcase, and now it feels that it's wasteful and it's not actually tuning into the consumer preference.
Yeah, Dubai is the city of opulence. It's OTT. It's everything's great, and that's what brunch is great, and that's what I hope we can get back to in a certain way of looking about things. So
yeah, and I guess there's the special occasion, and then there's people that brunch every single weekend, and it's just and that's great. So it's just so I suppose it's what you choose for the occasion.
Yeah, and I guess that's how we evolved from the name Mr and Mrs Brunch to Let's DXB. Our first iteration of the app was actually called Let's Brunch, and we only did brunch. We were actually at Taste of Dubai probably 3.5 years ago, and a lot of feedback that we had from the audience, people coming up, because we gave away 50 brunches at our stall that weekend, and certain people came up to us and said, we love what you do, we love what you do, but we don't brunch. It's too much, and we've got kids and we can't find time to do it anymore, it's too expensive. So Let's DXB was the natural evolution of the brunch scene to include normal restaurants, bars, drink services, general lifestyle, all encompassing app.
So tell us a bit more about the app then. Let's DXB, the functionality, and you're also as a resource for consumer, but also for industry too.
Yeah, so Let's DXB, as mentioned, it fits in your pocket, it's free to use, free to download. It aims to be a consumer companion. So Nobody likes to go somewhere and feel like they're not getting good value, whether that's a brunch or whether that's shopping for your next pair of trainers. So we like to express our opinions and give honest feedback and reviews, and we give a rating in terms of the food, the entertainment, the drinks, the service, but also add some sort of value. So it can be a monetary value. Everyone's familiar with the Entertainer app, for example. So that was my 100% go-to when I first came over here 11 years ago. What we found, however, with that was that it was just giving restaurant information and a 2-for-1. And what we found was paying 50% off of a bad brunch experience is still not great value. So we wanted to give the consumers great value, whether that's a free beverage or whether that's 20% off to 50% off. But we also wanted to reflect that in giving the information back to the restaurants and the F&B managers. So we work with them to let them know maybe what isn't particularly working. We let them know where their footfall is peaking and troughing, and then giving them tailored specific marketing campaigns through Mr and Mrs Brunch to help them drive footfall.
So how do you measure this? So that all sounds fantastic. Stats, when we're looking at 70,000 followers, if that's the latest figure?
Yeah, last count 70,000 active on Instagram, but 70,000 app users as well.
Right, so out of those users, how much do you think they follow through right to the end and they end up sitting in a restaurant?
So we've actually got some quite clever technology with that. We're able to say, we're not able to track exactly where people go, don't get scared, but we're able to actually track when they actually use it. So you'd be in Yalumba, for example, and if you use Let's DXB to avail your discount, we'll be able to send that data through to the restaurant Le Meridian. For example, we're able to actually see which areas people are clicking on, which areas and offers are garnering the most attention as well. So we use that to just work with the industry counterparts, whether that's chefs or F&B managers, to help them increase their footfall, because at the end of the day, our restaurant industry is nothing. Well, we're nothing without our restaurant industry, so we need to help it survive and recover and get through times like this.
We'll touch on the future, but what are you seeing at the moment then that's really popular from the way the users are interfacing with your app?
It's everything goes in phases. We've seen a real height in the Peruvian restaurants for some reason. So yesterday, for example, Chef Roberto Seguro from Waka, that was one of our most popular restaurants. We had a lot of beach clubs that were seeing a lot of popularity as well. There's not been able to travel, for example, so a lot of the restaurants offering pool along with their brunch pool access have also seen an increase in popularity as well.
So the future, what are you seeing, what are you predicting with all this information at your fingertips?
Hopefully not going to brunch and wearing these anymore. That's more of a hope than a prediction. But just a general return to, I guess, the good old days of how brunches were. I mean, we've got an amazing food community here, and we were one of the main supporters of something, a hashtag called UAE Restaurants Unite and hashtag Support Local during the lockdown. So we just want people to survive, thrive, and get back to our glory foodie days.
And is it always about the good value, the best value? Do you really see true foodies connecting with your resource?
Yeah, I mean, we don't list outlets that only have discounts associated with them. Certain restaurants, for example, won't offer a discount, which is absolutely fine. They'll offer their own value proposition, whether it's just their food in general. Some restaurants see it as maybe cheapening their brand to offer a discount, which again is absolutely fine, and we'll call a spade, and we'll tell the consumer exactly how it is. I just think that there's so much room for growth and new restaurants and new ideas and new businesses to launch in Dubai. It's a fantastic place. I'm just happy to be part of it.
So regardless of everything that's happening, you're still excited about this food space in the UAE?
Absolutely. Really excited for what Dubai has to offer. Let's DXB is relating to obviously Dubai's airport code, but we've got plans in the making to grow it to Let's Singapore and Let's Bangkok and London and things like that. So the future's bright, and it proves that consumers want something to aid them in their food diaries and their food journeys.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking with you today. I don't know how you do it. Fast paced, eating brunches every week, skinny as anything.
Thank you very much.
Good for you, and yeah, really inspiring stuff. So many people look to the internet obviously now, but actually making a business out of it, a successful business, and really connecting with the community, the tribe, as we call it, in the digital space. So thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Suzanne.
Adrian John, Chief Operating Officer, Let's DXB, and co-founder of Mr and Mrs Brunch UAE. Thank you.